Jake Skin of the Boxed In podcast, delighted to be joined here by Willa the Gorilla or Neil Wilson, whichever one. So I kind of just want to get into a bit about pretty much, we met yesterday at the weigh-in,
Yeah.
and you came up to me and the story that you told me was one unlike I've really heard before.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if you could tell a bit about yourself to the people that are going to be watching this.
Yeah. Like you just said there, my nickname Will has been since I was a kid. Everybody's called as Willa. Even my parents called as Willa. The name Willa the Gorilla came from me son, who unfortunately passed away on the 8th of December 2021. I live in Portugal. I live in a place called Alcantara, and he came up with the nickname Willa the Gorilla from Alcantara, and that sort of stuck. I do box now as well. I've been boxing for the last 3 years. I've had 20 fights, won 19, got a medical stoppage on one. I thought I broke my orbital eye socket, but I knew it wasn't broken. I broke plenty of bones in my life, but yeah, that name just stuck. And Willa the Gorilla. And yeah, that's me. A little bit about us. If I could spell entrepreneur, I'd probably be able to say I was an entrepreneur, but I'm involved with lots of different businesses. You know, I range from I've got a car garage, like does tyres and auto care, and I work in data centres, oil and gas, restaurants, a bit of everything, you know. And now I'm involved with the boxing. It's took us on a whole new journey and a whole new platform that I never thought I'd ever go on. And it's been through sadness really that I've got into boxing, because I needed an outlet when my son passed away, and I ended up going to an unlicensed show, and I seen a couple of guys fighting, and I said to Stephen Robinson, Dizzy Drago, I said to Stephen, I was like, I'd chin both of them. He was like, you've never boxed before? I said, but I'm not bothered of a box. I said, I'll still chin them too. And it really went from there, and that was 3 years ago, coming April. I had my first fight, and I've had 20 fights since then. And my 21st fight is going to be as a professional, and it's going to be next weekend across in Bosnia. So I'm going to somebody else's backyard. There's just me and a guy called Colin Byrne going. Colin Byrne's world renowned as one of the best trainers in the world. He's Conor McGregor's trainer. And I knew Colin for a while before I knew what he'd done. And I think the first conversation I had with Colin when he told us he was Conor's trainer was, of course, everybody from Ireland says that they know Conor. And it ended up he was Conor's trainer, and he's been doing work with us. I've worked with, you know, guys up in the northeast. I've worked with Jobs. I've done some work with Curtis and the guys. I've done loads of sparring and training with Stephen, and I take it seriously. You know, it's an outlet that I never thought I would have, and that led to Stephen wanting some sparring across in Portugal, because I made a fight camp called the AJW Fight Camp, which is in my garden. I've got an 18-foot ring, and I've got all the equipment. There's 6 bags. I've got, you know, a curved treadmill. I've got Concept 2 rowers. I've got all sorts of equipment there. So it's a full training camp. And I invited Curtis across to bring Adrian for to spar with Stephen. And Curtis and I just hit it off from day one. He was one of them people that was infectious. You know, his enthusiasm, the fact he used to be a footballer. I was a footballer. I never made it the level he did. I got a bad injury when I was younger, and, you know, he went on to have a great career, and then decided he fell out of love with football and got into boxing. I've been the opposite. I've been football all my life. And then people ask us now, you know, do you not wish you got into boxing earlier? Because it's not that I'm good, I'm just game. You know, I wouldn't class myself as a good boxer because I don't spar. I get in there and I fight, you know, and I fight for a purpose. I fight for Ellis's memory. I fight in honour of my son, and I want to carry his name forward, and I want to make sure that people around the world, around the UK and everywhere, know Ellis's name and know that he was a good lad, and I want him to be remembered, and I want to honour him in that way. You know, so that's pretty much my story on how I got into the boxing. I don't know if you wanted to get a bit more about how I worked with Curtis and started work with Curtis. Yeah, great. I mean, Curtis and I, like I say, we got on well from day one. He was just them type of infectious people that, you know, sometimes you meet people in life and they come into your life for a reason. And when I was talking with Curtis and he showed his enthusiasm and the way that he wanted his fighters to be and his boxers to be and how disciplined they had to be, I've been very, very disciplined in everything I've done all my life, in business, in my personal life, in work. Everything I do is very, very disciplined. You know, I'm one of those people that if I'm going to do it, I do it properly. And the way he wanted his fighters and the way he wanted people to go out there is exactly the way I approach it, which is if I can look myself in the mirror when I walk out that ring and look at myself and look at my coach and look at my trainer and look at anybody else in my team and say, I've done my best. I mean, I've done my best. And if my best wasn't good enough on that day, then my best is not good enough. But all I've asked, all my kids, and I included Ellis, was just give your best. And if your best isn't good enough, there's nothing more you can give. We've built a stable. When I first met Curtis, he had 2 fighters. You know, he had 2 boxers on his books. We've now got 14, about to go to 15, 16, 17, 18. We're getting people coming out the woodwork, really. And these fighters and these boxers that we're attracting are the fighters that we want. Yeah. They're not interested in the money. They want to win titles. They want to win belts. They want to be known. Along with winning belts and winning trophies, and it puts you on a bigger stage. You got on a bigger stage. And I've always said, opportunities goes to those that are successful. And the people that are successful, money comes along with that. Yeah. So working with Curtis now over the last 7-8 months, what we've achieved so far is remarkable. You know, you look at the show that we're putting on today, it's live on TalkSport. It's our first ever boxing event. It's our first ever show. We've put it all together in the space of 9 weeks. And I think, without a doubt, I think the people of Hull have needed this because we want to make Hull, I see, is a little bit like Newcastle. It's just a little bit out the way for boxers to become known. Yeah, yeah. And Hull's a little bit out of the way from Yorkshire to be known, so it's its own little area. We want to create in Hull the first British champion in Hull, whether that be a man or whether that be a woman. Yeah. We want to get the first British champion from Hull. Curtis keeps saying that he's the first British champion from Hull. He lives in a YO postcode, so he's not from Hull, and that's what the guys keep saying. They want to be the real ones for to make sure that they are the ones that do it. And I think there's probably 7 or 8 of the guys in the local area that are all fighting to be that first one. And it's healthy competition. All the guys know each other, and they all want to be the first. Now that for us is adds fuel to their fire. We haven't got to do anything else apart from put them onto our platform. Using the connection and being involved with connection and having the exclusivity with connection to put boxing events on. This is our first show. We're going to have this. The top tier is going to be full. We're going to have the whole place filled out. We're going to have a waiting list of people for to come because the shows that we want to put on are going to be exciting. They're going to be something a little bit different. And when we first spoke about putting shows on, and this was when I very first met Curtis, you know, we hadn't even spoke about working together and me becoming part of 3156 management and the management of the boxers. We said, imagine if we put one show on, and we'd done it in Hull and made Hull the centre of the Yorkshire region, that the people from Hull get that platform. We're doing it now. And this is our first show. And this first show is, I'm not going to use the word fireworks, everybody uses fireworks, but there's going to be blood and thunder. There's going to be people leaving everything in that ring. And that's what people want to see. People want to come to a boxing show and they want an experience. We're going to give them an experience of a fantastic show. We're going to give them an experience of a fantastic card and undercard. All the fights that we've got on are very, very good. The top of the bill goes without saying, it's for the central area belt. The resort who's got it, he's doesn't want to give it up. Red really wants it. These guys used to train together when they were younger. There's that bit of rivalry there, whether I admit it or not. the look in their eyes yesterday was that fight tonight is going to be, I'm going to say it's going to be fight of the year. I know we're only into March. It's going to be fight of the year, because I tell you what, if it goes to 10 rounds, it'll be 10 rounds of blood and thunder. It will be absolute blood and thunder, and it'll be fantastic to watch. And that's what we want to create in this area. We want to have every fight that is going to be blood and thunder, and it's exciting, and it's amazing for us as promoters. It's amazing for us as managers of some of the boxers that are fighting tonight, because we're giving them the platform to fight on this show, and we're giving the platform in their hometown with their own supporters that are going to come out and watch, and that's fantastic. You know, I got involved with boxing because I needed an escape, you know, and that escape was because I played football, I was kicking lumps out of people, I got into boxing, and if your brain's not switched on in boxing, you can very easily get knocked out. I've fought heavyweight, and I'm quite light for a heavyweight, you know, and I'm small for a heavyweight, because normally the guys I've fought have been 6'5", 6'4", 6'6", 6'7". I'm 6 foot, 6'1". I'm 14 and a half stone, and I'm fighting guys 18, 19 stone, and some of them being 6'6" or 17 stone. I've only fought 2 people around my age. One of them was on Marbella, and he was known as the GOAT of combat sports. He's been a champion MMA, he was a champion kickboxer, and then he's went into boxing. And we both came out and threw a jab. And after that jab, you could have stuck my foot in a tyre, and we just stood there for 4 rounds, punching lumps out of each other. And I've got to say, I've never been hit as hard of anybody. I got hit with 3 shots. He hit us with a left, a right, and a left. And my head went bang, bang, bang. And I just fired straight back at him. And it wasn't until I spoke to him afterwards, he said, "You're the toughest man I've ever faced in my life. I couldn't have hit you any better, and I've never hit anybody any better with 1 shot, never mind 3. And he says, all he done was come back. We got a standing ovation at the end of it. They threw the towel in for him halfway through the 4th round. It was due to go to 5 because he damaged his shoulder. Yes, he's done some damage to his shoulder, and full respect for him for keep on going. But I honestly believe that my fitness and what I've got in my heart fighting for my son would have dragged us through that, and I would have got the win anyway, because after the first 3 rounds I was probably down 2. We probably won the 3rd. The 4th I was starting to win. The 5th would have been the decider, and I would have won that 5th because my heart would have pulled us through. Because when I go out there, I've got Ellis's, you know, this is his brand of clothing that I'm bringing out as well, which is AJW Signature Collection. I've got his handprint on my shoulder, and I always put my hand before the fight and after the fight. Ask him to keep both fighters safe.
Bit of a change of scenery, but we are back. And I'll pass the microphone back over to you, Willa.
No problem. Thank you. Yes, as I was saying, you know, I find memory of Ellis, and that gives us that extra little bit of, I'm not going to say oomph, but even though he's passed out, I want to do his memory proud. I want to be in that ring, and I want people to remember his name. I want people to understand what Ellis meant to us all, and his family, his brother and his sister. He's been past over 4 years now, and it's still as raw today as it is the day I found out. And it's hard. Life's tough. I'm also, on the 6th of January, I was 10 years sober. So I'm in recovery. I was an alcoholic, but I was a functioning alcoholic. I built businesses, and I still went to work. I never missed a day's work. But during that period of time when I lost Ellis, I wanted to bury my head in the sand. But I didn't, because I've got Mary Grace and Herbie. And I've got to show them an example that you've got to still move forward. You've got to still strive in life. You've got to still keep going, even though, you know, there's a part of us missing that'll be gone forever. But I carry Ellis with us, and I believe he walks with us. I believe he's on this journey with us, and I would like to think he's wherever he is. I would like to think that he knows I'm doing him as proud as what I possibly can do to keep his memory alive, and I miss him. Sorry. Um, and it's going on this professional journey. So I've had 20 fights, and ironically, I said I would love to do 21 fights in his memory. My 21st fight is going to be as a professional. I'm 48, closing on to 49. It's been difficult to get a professional license. I've been trying for a long time, and I've eventually got a professional license. And that, for me, whether I get knocked out every time and I'm fighting against lads, because I'm dropping down to cruiserweight, the lads in the professional game are just too big, in the professional ranks. And I'm not a good boxer, I'm a scrapper. I'm a fighter, and I fight with purpose, and I fight with Ellis on my mind, and I'm saying on my mind, it's only a little bit of peace I get in the ring.
Yeah.
I don't mind taking a punch to give two, and that's the way I fight. I've had to fight all my life, especially through alcoholism, and through the alcoholism, I came out of that, and I'm 10 years clean and sober, and I'm very proud of that fact that it didn't beat us and get to us, and I think a lot of people thought it would, and to a lot of people it probably would have done, but this might sound awful, but I would have woke up the next day with a hangover after drinking, and my son still would have been passed. He still would have been dead. And that might sound a bit harsh, but it's a reality of it. And I made the conscious effort to not do that. I sat with a pint in front of us for 3 hours, contemplating whether or not to do it, and I got up and walked out. And that's shows the type of person that I am, that I've got that determination. Whatever I do in life, I give it my best. And when I go into these professional ranks, there's just me and Colin Byrne going. Colin Byrne's Conor McGregor's trainer. He's been to the heights of Vegas and everywhere he's been at the heights and the biggest places in the world to fight. And he's travelling, just me and him, and it's going to take about 14 hours to get there, and it's a journey that just me and Colin are going on for the first one. The second one, I'm fighting in Hamburg, and it's one of the biggest venues in Hamburg, because it's very much an iconic place in Germany, because the likes of Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson. It's a very small venue. It only holds about 800 or 900 people, but it's apparently, from what I've seen, you can literally just about touch the people in the crowd. They're on top of you. It's like an old-fashioned coliseum with everything around the ring, and apparently it's supposed to be the best venue in the world to fight. And of the greats of Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson's, for me, was the greatest of all time. I know people say Muhammad Ali. I think Mike Tyson in his prime would beat anybody, and he had that animal in him. I've got that animal in us, and it's not because I want to do any damage to somebody. It's because I want to make sure that I give everything I've got to keeping my son's memory alive. And when people come out, I want them to say, he boxed out, he fought and fought and fought, and I've took some big shots, and I've come back, and I've ended up beating somebody because of sheer will and determination. And that's all we want from the fight, as that fight for us at 3156. 3156 is very personal to Curtis. It was his dad's date of birth, and his dad's twin brother's date of birth. So the 3156 is very personal to him, and that means it's personal to me. And if you look on the 3156 boxing, there's 2 stars on there, and I've got 2 stars tattooed, which Ellis had tattooed on him, and them 2 stars represent Ellis. His signature, I've got his signature on here, and I've got a new line of clothing coming out called the EJW Signature Collection. His signature's on the ring, so it's a part of the show, and he's a part of what we're creating. So everything I'm doing in his memory, but I'm also doing for his brother and sister, to make them proud, and I want to show people that doesn't matter what happens in life, and losing my son was the end of my world, in a way, and there's a part of us missing that'll be missing forever. But no, it is, I'm a fighter, and excuse me language, but I'll carry on fucking fighting, because I've got 2 other kids that I love so much, and Ellis was their hero, and they looked up to him. And I want to carry that on, and I want them to look at me like they looked at Ellis, and I want them to look at me like I'm their hero, and I know my kids do look at us like that, but I want to carry on that for Ellis, and I want to make sure that everything I do is done in his memory and for Mary Grace and Herbie, and to carry his name on, and so that we can see Ellis has got a little girl called Eva Grace. I haven't been able to see her for 6.5 years, and she's 7. And I want people to know who Ellis is. I want him to know that I'm a granddad, because she's getting to the age now where in a year or two she'll have a phone. And I've been through the court system. I've been through to try to get access, and they won't allow us access because she was at an age that it would disrupt her childhood. I don't know how that would disrupt her childhood, knowing that she knows who her dad is, because she doesn't know anything about her dad, and I want to put that right. I want her to know who her dad was. I want her to know that her dad loved her very much, and I want her to know that she's got a massive extended family here. That's my own flesh and blood. You know, a part of Eva Grace is a part of me, and part of Mary Grace and Herbie, and we want to make sure that she knows who we are and knows who her dad is. So that's another reason why I'm doing this. In these fights, I've set a target of 21 fights in memory of Ellis, but I'm not gonna hold myself to 21 fights, because the 21 fights are taken over. The one I want to do it over 18 months, leading up to his memory on the 8th of December, in 18 months' time. That's a lot to ask of any professional boxer. Never mind the one that's had. I've had 2 full knee replacements. I've had major back surgery, but nothing's going to stop us achieving what I've achieved. And if I get 10 fights, if I get 14 fights, if I get 21 fights in that time, then that's what I'll get. At one point, I would have been, when I was a bit younger, I would have said 21 fights, and I would have kept going till I'd done 21 fights. I'm at the age now that if it's 11 fights or 10 fights or 9 fights or 8 fights, I'm going to do it up until his memory. And then if I want to call it a day, I'll call it a day. I've always been in love with football. And it's funny because Curtis and I, both being football men, we use a lot of analogies when it comes to football into the boxing, and it's uncanny, and to have that relationship with Curtis, that we've got that common denominator of being from a football background. It's fantastic because we use a lot of football analogies when we talk about boxing and how they should perform and what they should do. We can only do so much as managers. We can only do so much as promoters. When you're working with a team of 10 other people on a football pitch, you've got 10 other people that you've got to either carry, pull along with you, drag along with you. When you get in them ropes, there's only you.
Herbie, what's that audio?
That's my son. I did put it on silent. I do apologise. And I'm just going to knock it on silent. Sorry, it is on silent. I don't understand how it's. Oh, because I've got the kids on a different thing, so that it rings anyway. But using them football analogies is fantastic, because we come from the same wavelength, and these 21 fights that are coming up, like I say, whether it's 10, whether it's 18, whether it's 16, whether it's 21, whether it's 30, I'll go until I go. And about 6-7 months ago, I went onto the football pitch, because I normally play, because I live in Portugal. I've got the AJW fight camp, which I've spoke about. When I get out there, when I got out there 6 months ago, I walked on the football pitch, and I never ever thought, because from being a kid, my mum and dad have both said, from being a kid, the first thing I done was kick the ball, and that was my life. And for all these years, I've never thought I would fall out of love with the game. I walked on the pitch. It's across in Portugal. It's a lovely place to play football. It was under the floodlights. It was lovely. I walked on the pitch and I thought, I'm done with this. 5 minutes, I said, listen, lads, I'm done. I'm carrying a little bit of a knock. So I've got a fight coming up, and I don't want to risk any injury. And I all of a sudden, overnight, just fell out of love with football. But my love for boxing is a strange one, because I enjoy getting hit. It makes us feel alive. It wakes us up, because half the time I think, you cheeky bastard. And if they give us it once, I give them it twice. And I'm fit. I'm not going to say I'm not fit. And age is just a number. you know, and regardless of how old I get, until my body tells me I can't do it, I can. I've fought 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, I've fought 25-year-olds, I've fought all ages, and people can't live with me level of fitness because I train like a professional. I'm very fortunate I have Stephen that I spar with, who's a big, heavy-handed, heavyweight. Yes, he hits his 3/4, but he used to tippy tappy. Now he gives us it because he knows I can take it. You know, I've sparred with Harry and I've sparred with Adrian, and when I first sparred with Harry Powell, he didn't know what to do because I kept running at him, and he didn't understand. He went back to his corner to curse and went, I don't know what to do. He's running at us. He's actually running at us, and he's just running at us, and he's headbutting my hands. So because I was being a little bit older and a little bit slower, instead of us trying to slip, because I was getting caught in the eye and caught in the eye, I just thought it would be easier to just headbutt. So when he's throwing a jab, I was headbutting his hands, and he says, I don't know what to do. He's headbutting my hands. He goes, we'll work it out. So he tried a different tactic, and I was just on top of him, sat on his chest, and just worked and worked and worked. And Harry will probably turn around and say to you, it's one of the most difficult spars he's had because he didn't know what to do because I'm so unconventional and I'm so unorthodox in the way that I fight that I just don't stop, you know, and that's something that keeps us. That's all right, don't worry, don't worry. And that's something that I pride myself on, that I am unconventional. Sometimes I throw punches and I think, where did that come from? Because I just throw what I see, and if I see something, I throw it. And you know, my style of boxing is pressure, pressure fighting, pressure boxing, pressure fighting, and I keep going until that bell goes, and I don't stop. And I'm very fortunate that my body allows us to do that, and I eat the right things. As I've said, you know, I'm in recovery. I don't drink. I'm, I'm part of a football team called Angels United FC, who are from Manchester, and unfortunately, to be part of the slogan is the team you never want to play for, because you've got to have lost a child to play for the team. And I raise a lot of money for them. I do a lot of stuff in the boxing world for them, and I'll continue to do that to help other people, because it is people's end of the world when they lose a child. It's not something, whether it's a 1 month old, 1 year old, 5-year-old, 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-old. It's not the order of life. I had to ring my parents, Ellis's grandparents, and tell them that they lost a son before it went on social media, because social media now is a horrific thing, and it's horrific in one respect that news gets out there fast, and I didn't want any family, so I had to spend the morning just after I found out my son had passed away, telling everybody that my son had passed away. And I got on the aeroplane about 3 hours later, and I was expecting to get to the other end and meet Dad. My dad would be there, and tell us it was all right, even though it had been hours. I was expecting to get off that plane because radio silence for them. I thought they'd made a mistake, and I convinced myself they'd made a mistake. And I was sat with my wife, Stephanie, and I think she was thinking exactly the same, because we spoke about it. And we were sat on the plane, and I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed the whole way. And even when I got off the plane, security tried to stop us, and I just told them where to go, and I carried on walking. I could see my dad, and that was that. And you know, what I'm doing now, I hope out of all of this, and even this interview, or what I'm about to do in the boxing ring, and what I have done, if it helps one person cope with what the devastation losing a child brings, I've done something right, as well as do my son proud, because he deserves it. Because at any given time, I'm 50% happy, 50% sad, and I'll always be like that, and that's the way I want to honour him. And I'll honour him by being sad for the rest of my life, but I'll also honour him by doing the best I can to keep his name going for the rest of my life. You know, and our lives are on a ruler. You never know when the end of that ruler comes. So I live every day like it's my last. I hope it's not my last, and I hope I keep on going, and I keep on going, I keep on going. And I hope I get to the point where I'm shitting myself and my kids have got to wipe my arse like I had to wipe theirs when they were a kid. But you know, I'm getting I'm going to keep going until my body decides, that's enough of the boxing. That's enough, and I'll concentrate on everything else I'm doing work-wise. I want to bring the kids into the work that I do, and I work anything from working with Girarda, who build data centres, modular data centres, Pipeflex, who do all the air cooling and do all the cooling system for data centres. We've got Metrac in America, which does overhead crane and safe handling systems. I've got a restaurant in Portugal. I've got a car garage. The list of businesses I'm involved in is endless, because I want to try to build an empire for my kids to take over and be very, very proud that I've built that for them. And this empire that I believe that Curtis and I and Mitchell Costello, who's an absolute genius, by the way, I've got so much respect for the lad, and I've grown to not just respect him, but really, really love him as a friend. He's a dear friend, and we've worked together for the last 9 weeks. Yes, it's been stressful. Yes, it's been hard. I tell you what, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the journey. And tonight we're going to see what that's all about. And tonight we're going to see that finished article. If what this show does, we can only get better from here. We can only get better, And I would like to think that we're going to be on the TV very soon. I would like to think that 3156 is going to be on the forefront of people's names when they want to watch a boxing show, and that's what we want to do, because Curtis and I are both of the same opinion. We don't want to be like Matchroom, Queensbury, any other promoter. We want to be our own promoter, do it our own way, and people aspire to be like us, because everybody wants to outdo and be like other people. We don't want to do that. We want to create our own unique experience for people, for to come and watch boxing. The entertainment that they're going to have away from the fights is going to equal the fights as well. So it's a fantastic journey that we're on, and I hope that this interview with you, and thank you very much for this, because I hope it does go to help somebody and know that there is still life to be had, whether you're happy or whether you're sad. It's one of them things that you've got to. I'll never come to terms with it. I've accepted it. It took a long time to accept, even though I don't agree with it. I was an alcoholic, and why they didn't take me and why they took my son at such a young age is beyond me, when I was a raving alcoholic and a functioning alcoholic. And, why they decided to take Ellis, I don't know. I'm not a believer in God as such. I believe there's something out there, and it's each to their own. The Juice gloves that we're using tonight, I own that brand, Juice. Juice Boxing belongs to me and a guy called Steve Robinson, not the Steve Robinson that's fighting. I know two Steve Robinsons, and he designed, and we designed our own gloves, and we've designed our own apparel and everything to do with the boxing. And we're using them gloves tonight, so that's a part of the empire as well. And I want to see them in world title fights. I want to see them on people's, when I go to gyms and I go to box size classes, I want to see people wearing them. And that's another thing that we're involved in as well. The amount of things that we're involved in, and I want the kids to be involved in, is unbelievable. My Herbie, he got to the final of the Nationals last year after fighting for just over a year. He had a fight, he got the final of the Nationals. We found out 2 months after the final of the Nationals, and he got beat by split decision, that he had a broken back for a year and a half. So he's actually had 10 fights, all 10 fights with a broken back. That tells me that I brought my kids up to give the best, and my kids give the best. Ellis gives his best, Mary Grace gives her best, Herbie gives her best. Mary Grace now works with us, and to be fair to Mary Grace, she questions every single thing that I do. I ask her to do something. Why are you doing this? I hope it's an inquisitive way because she wants to understand why, but all the time it's because she's being nosy. And I'm not asking her to ask why, I'm asking her just for to do something and say, but why? So it's hard working with your daughter, because my daughter's bats at eyelids and she tends to get away with it. So does Herbie, to be fair, and so did Ellis. They all got away with it, and I'm pretty soft to shout when it comes to the kids, but it's part and parcel of who I am. I like to give a lot. I don't expect anything in return. All I want people to do is just give the best, and that's all I can ask for. And if anybody's out there and anybody's watching, life is hard. Life throws some unbelievable shit at you, but you've got to keep going, and you've got to keep putting one foot in front of the other. Life will never be the same, but you can make a life from it.
and I'm doing that, and it's hard, and I miss Ellis every day, and I talk about him every day, and I'll continue to do that, but I'll continue to do what I can in his honour, and that's the best way I can honour my son by making sure that I do everything I can in his honour to keep his name going. So any advice to give to anybody out there is there is life to be had. It'll not be the same again. Nobody's going to tell you that time's a great healer when you come to losing a child, because it's not. It doesn't heal anything. It doesn't heal their wounds. You learn to accept it. You don't need to learn to deal with it. I still wake up sometimes in the middle of the night and I'll go to pick my phone up and I think Ellis is still alive, then I realise he's passed. And that's 4 years on. And I hope that never ends. I still want to do that because even though the nightmares and the horrible, I know he's at the forefront of the way I'm thinking. So please just keep going, keep putting one foot in front of the other. It's not an easy path, it's a hard path, but it's a path you can walk. It's a lonely path, and people say that I don't know how you cope. They don't. Unless you've been through it, you don't know how to cope. You don't know how you make you feel. Nobody understands how they feel. You know how much you love your kids, but when you lose a kid, you realise how much. When you lose a child, you realise how much that devastation brings to you. But keep going, keep putting one foot in front of the other, and do them justice, and keep their name alive. And that's the best way to honour them, is for to keep their name alive. And I would like to thank you very much. And I know I've spoke a lot. Um, that's one thing I can't do is talk. I don't know if everybody can understand as being a Geordie, and my nose is now fully blocked up with a few tears. But thank you very much. And if anybody needs to reach out, then look for Angels United FC, and that's not just for men. You know, the support group for the families and for everybody, and they do a lot of good, an awful lot of good help for people. And there's people you can talk to. There's always someone you can talk to, especially men. Men find it hard to talk, and there's a stigma around men talking, but that stigma's starting to sort of lose its way a little bit. Like in the olden days, it was me, man, me. You know, don't cry, and we keep a stern face, and we keep moving forward. It's all right to cry. It's all right to get upset. I don't give a shit if I'm in the middle of a pub or if I'm in the middle of a supermarket. If I get upset, I get upset. It doesn't bother us whatsoever. It's handy because I'm a boxer, because everybody says I will just knock them out now. But it's one of them where if you're going to get upset, don't hold it in, let it out. Because the worst thing you can do is bottle it up. I'll let it out, you know, and I've got no problem letting it out. I have done today in this interview, and you know, and I hope somebody out there takes something from this and gets some hope that there is life to be had still. Not be the same, but you can still live your life and live your life as best you can. And that's okay, yeah. Thank you.
That was a brilliant way to end the interview. Neil Willa Wilson, thanks ever so much for your time. That is massively appreciated.